Heavy metal umlaut from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, at http://www.wikipedia.org. A heavy metal umlaut, also known as rock dots, is an umlaut over a letter in the name of a heavy metal band. The use of umlauts and other diacritics with a black letter style typeface is a form of foreign branding intended to give a band's logo a Teutonic quality. It is a form of marketing that invokes stereotypes of boldness and strength commonly attributed to peoples such as the Vikings. Author Rebe Garofalo has attributed its use to a desire for a, quote, Gothic horror, unquote, feel. The heavy metal umlaut is never referred to by the term diaresis in this usage, nor is it intended to affect the pronunciation of the band's name. Heavy metal umlauts have been parodied in film and fiction. In the film This Is Spinal Tap, David St. Hubbins, played by Michael McKean, opined, quote, "It's like a pair of eyes. You're looking at the umlaut, and it's looking at you," unquote. In 2002, Spin magazine referred to the heavy metal umlaut as, quote, "the diacritical mark of the beast." Section 1. Umlauts and diareses. The German word Umlaut roughly means changed sound, and it is composed of a prefix often used with verbs involving change, and laut, here meaning sound. Adding an umlaut indeed changes the pronunciation of a vowel in standard, or non-heavy metal, usage. The letters U and U umlaut represent distinct sounds, as do O versus O umlaut and A versus A umlaut. Umlauts, or visually similar grampheme, are used in several languages, such as Icelandic, German, Swedish, Finnish, Estonian, Hungarian, Azeri, and Turkish. The sounds represented by umlauted letters in these languages are typically front vowels, that is, front rounded vowels in the case of U umlaut and O umlaut. Ironically, these sounds tend to be perceived as weaker or lighter than the vowels represented by unumlauted U, O, and A, thus failing to create the intended impression of strength and darkness. The English word diaresis refers to a diacritic graphically similar to the umlaut. The name comes from a Greek word meaning divide or distinguish. This diacritic is used in languages such as Greek, French, Spanish, Catalan, Dutch, and Afrikaans, and Portuguese with varying purposes. Occasionally, English employs a diaresis to indicate that two vowels are to be pronounced separately, as in the name Chloe or the word naive. Section 2. History. The German progressive rock band Amon Düül, spelled capital A-M-O-N, capital D, U umlaut, L, 2, released their first album in 1969. However, their name came from Ammon, an Egyptian sun god, and Düül, a character from Turkish fiction. So this use of diareses was not gratuitous. The third part of Yes's progressive rock epic Starship Trooper is entitled Worm, capital W, U umlaut, R-M, on the Yes album released 1971. However, this again is probably not gratuitous, seemingly coming from the Worm glaciation. The first gratuitous use appears to have been either by Blue Oyster Cult, spelled with an umlaut over the O, or by Black Sabbath, both in 1970. Blue Oyster Cult's website states it was added by guitarist and keyboardist Alan Lanier, but rock critic Richard Meltzer claims to have suggested it to their producer and manager Sandy Pearlman just after Pearlman came up with the name. Quote, "I said, how about an umlaut over the O?" Unquote. Metal had a Wagnerian aspect anyway. Conversely, Black Sabbath, on a rare 7-inch single version of Paranoid, with the B-side Rat Salad, for no forthcoming reason, renamed the single Paranoid with an umlaut over the I. On their second album, In Search of Space, in 1971, Hawkwind wrote on the back side of the cover, in all capital letters, "Technicians of Spaceship Earth, this is your captain speaking. Your captain is dead." All characters containing umlauts and other markings. To add to the variation, a diacritical mark on the last A is the Hungarian umlaut, or double acute accent, two short lines slanting up and to the right, rather than right double quote mark, instead of dots. Hungarian uses neither the double quote nor the traditional German umlaut over the letter A, though. This was before Lemmy Kilmister, later of Motorhead, with an umlaut over the second O, had become a member of the group. Motorhead and Motley Crue, with umlauts over the O and U, then followed. American hardcore punk band Husker Du, with umlauts over the U's, debuted in January 1981. The umlaut in Motorhead was contributed by the graphic designer of the band's first album cover. In the words of Lemmy, Motorhead's frontman, quote, "I only put it there to look mean," unquote. Interestingly, the standard German pronunciation of motor is similar to the standard English pronunciation of motor, the umlaut over the second O requiring in German the fronting of the vowel. The French equivalent, moteur, is genuinely pronounced that way. For the Crue, according to Vince Neil in the band's Behind the Music edition, the inspiration came from a Lowenbrau bottle, with umlauts over the O and A. At one Motley Crue performance in Germany, the entire audience started chanting Mötley Crüe, a pronunciation often used in Hungary as well. Queensryche went further by putting the umlaut over the Y in their name. The symbol Y umlaut is used in Dutch handwriting to display the letter IJ instead of writing out IJ, and very rarely in French, for example in the name of the Belgian-French composer Eugène Issei, in the place name La Haie des Roses, etc. Queensryche frontman Jeff Tate stated, "The umlaut over the Y has haunted us for years. We spent 11 years trying to explain how to pronounce it." Hawkwind-influenced 1980s space rock band Underground Zero used a variant on the concept, using the Scandinavian vowel Ö in their name. This may have been inspired by computer systems of the time, many of which used the /0 as a glyph for the digit 0 to distinguish it from the letter O, and thus resembled Ö. The Dutch band Bluff also used Ö in its name, even though the letter is not used in Dutch. Ironically, Bluff is neither pronounced Blof nor Bluff. Outside of rock, electronic music artist William Orbit, as of recent, has used the Ö in his surname. The spoof band Spinal Tap raised the stakes in 1984 by using an umlaut over the letter N, a consonant. This is a construction found only in Zacatelcic language of Guatemala and in some orthographies of Malagasy, although it is uncertain whether the writers of This is Spinal Tap knew this at the time. Section 3. The gratuitous umlaut in other popular literature. The 1974 film Blazing Saddles included Madeline Kahn's German-accented Marlene Dietrich-style chanteuse character, Lily von Stupp, according to the credits. She is announced on a poster outside the music hall as Lily von Stupp. The film's characters pronounce the name without any change to the vowel. In the mid-1980s, cartoonist Berkeley Breathed parodied the heavy metal umlaut in the comic strip Bloom County with the fictional group Death Tongue with an umlaut over the O, fronted by the depraved and unwholesome singer Lead Tongue Wild Bill Cat, and the infamous for the songs Let's Run Over Lionel Richie with a Tank, Clear Sill Messiah, and You Stink But I Love You. Breathed eventually had Death Tongue change their name to the umlaut-free Billy and the Boingers, following pressure from congressional hearings on porn rock led by one Tippy Gorp, an obvious reference to heavy metal's bane, Tipper Gore, and the PMRC. The Bloom County book, Billy and the Boingers Bootleg, included an acetate single with 2 songs from the band, I'm a Boinger and You Stink But I Love You. In 1988, Jim Henson and General Foods released a breakfast cereal, Crunchy Stars, with an umlaut over the O, based on the popular Swedish chef Muppet. In addition to the gratuitous umlaut in Crunchy, most of the cereal's labeling and promotional material used the idiosyncratic spelling Swedish chef, spelled with an umlaut over the D. As with Spinal Tap, this marks one of the rare instances of an umlaut being used over a consonant. The novel Zodiac, 1988, by Neil Stephenson, features a fictional metal band called Poison Boyzen, spelled P-O-Y-Z-E-N, B-O-Y-Z-E-N, which one character describes as not bad for a 2-umlaut band. In 1997, parody newspaper The Onion published an article called United States Toughens Image with Umlauts, with an umlaut over the U in United and one over the A in States, about a congressional attempt to add umlauts to the name of the United States of America to make it seem, quote, badassed and scary in a quasi-heavy metal manner, unquote. Journalist and author Steve Allman coined the term spandex and umlaut circuit in 2002 to describe the heavy metal touring scene. Rock critic Chuck Klosterman subtitled his 2001 book Fargo Rock City with A Heavy Metal Odyssey in Rural North Dakota, with an umlaut over the O in North and the O in Dakota. Webcomic artist Scott Kurtz drew a series of cartoons about a fake band called Djork, with an umlaut over the O, in his PvP online webcomic. Apart from possibly satirizing the heavy metal umlaut, this name also refers to the Icelandic singer-songwriter Björk, whose umlaut is genuine. Section 5. Other uses of diacritics in band or album naming. Umlaut. The Norwegian hard rock band Hell Dormer, spelled with an umlaut over the O. Frank Zappa used an umlaut in the title of the album Lather, with an umlaut over the A. Motorhead, with an umlaut over the O. The novelty rock band Green Jelly, with an umlaut over the Y, kept the umlaut after changing their name from Green Jello, with an umlaut over the O. This was after the manufacturers of Jello threatened to sue over the use of their trademark name. The band maintained that the Y umlaut was pronounced like a long O, therefore the written name of the band changed, but the pronounced name did not. The Scottish NWOBHM band Holocaust spelled their name Holocaust with umlauts over both O's in the A on their first 7-inch Heavy Metal Mania. The Norwegian hard rock band Svolk with an umlaut over the O. The Canadian thrash metal band Infernal Majesty with umlauts over both A's. The Australian thrash black metal band Destroyer 666 with an umlaut over the O. The French black metal band Mutilation with an umlaut over the U. Technically, this umlaut is superfluous. This U is already pronounced as the German U. The Florida grindcore band Asuk with an umlaut over the U. The Czech death metal band Hypnos with an umlaut over the O, formerly known as simply Hypnos. The Danish heavy metal band Handlebar Mustache with an umlaut over the O. The Melbourne-based avant-garde jam metal band Cunt Brigade with an umlaut over the U. The hardcore ska punk band Leftover Crack with an umlaut over the O. Dirty Nelly's Pub with an umlaut over the U in Dirty, spelled D-U-R-T-Y, a rock bar in Charlottesville, Virginia. Peoria, Illinois band Mudvayne listed their members on one release as Chud, spelled C-H-U umlaut D, Goog, G-U umlaut G, and Ruud, R-U umlaut D, and Spoog, S-P-U umlaut G. Minneapolis crust hardcore punk band State of Fear, with an umlaut over the A. The Spanish band Mago de Oz, with an umlaut over the A. The term nu metal, spelled N-U-umlaut/METAL, used to describe nu metal with added umlautness. Gay heavy metal band cabaret act Pink Steel, with umlauts over both E's, have two consecutive gratuitous umlauts, the first such instance in a band name. The library sci-fi metal band Bloodhag, with umlauts over both O's, also have consecutive gratuitous umlauts. Seattle spazcore band Bloodwolf, spelled B-L-O-U-D W-U-LF. The Devin Townsend band parody project Punky Brewster, spelled B-R-U-S-T-E-R. The Canadian thrash band Voivod, with an umlaut over the I, second album from 1986 was entitled R-R O umlaut O umlaut O umlaut A-A-A-R-R-R. This album title actually has three consecutive gratuitous umlauts. The band's name has an umlaut over the I, but this may be acting as a diaeresis. Their fourth album was entitled Dimensional Hatros, with an umlaut over the O, placing another umlaut in the title. The Finnish hardcore punk band Umlaut. This use is almost a self-reference. The art metal band, also referred to as death metal, Umlaut, parodies the form while producing a serious CD and DVD set. Umlaut, ultimate uber death metal, with umlauts over all U's, with spoken word by the poet vampire Yuri Shek. Z, a short-lived band formed by Pink Floyd keyboard player Richard Wright and Dave Harris, made excessive use of gratuitous umlauts on their 1984 album Identity, which included song titles such as Confusion, with umlauts over the O, U, and second O, and How Do You Do It, with umlauts over every vowel. The Kabology-inspired Usenet-based quasi-band Interrobang Cartel, with an umlaut over the O, containing, in addition to its heavy metal umlaut, another exotic typographical reference to the Interrobang character. The Spanish EBM duo Culture Culture, with the first culture spelled C-U-L-T-U-R-E, and the second culture spelled K-U-L-T-U-R. The album Paradiso, spelled P-A-R-A-D-Y-S-S-O, recorded by Spanish rock band Sober, who added a gratuitous circumflex after changing their name from Sober Stoned. Chuck Dukowski of Black Flag was previously Worm, W-U-R-M. Heavy metal spoofers Insidious Torment, with umlauts over both O's, revitalized the umlaut by placing it at strategically hard-to-pronounce vowels. Experimental group Garotis spelled their name with an umlaut over each consonant, leaving the vowels unblemished. The dance music record label Nocturnal Groove has an umlaut on the N. Hungarian black and roll band Korog has a gratuitous umlaut over the letter R in their name, which actually means it rumbles, and is a verb that is used to exclusively describe the sound of a hungry person's stomach. Italian metal band Labyrinth used to call themselves Labyrinth, with an umlaut over the Y, until 2003. Minneapolis punk pioneers of the 1980s, Husker Du, whose name comes from a Danish board game. The original game does not have umlauts. The name of the board game comes from the Danish interrogative clause, Husker Du, without umlaut, which means, do you remember? English Kylie band, Stomp, has an umlaut on the O. According to the band's website, this is to avoid confusion with the Stomp dance troupe. The Spanish pop band Nosotros, with an umlaut over the A. Demo scene group Umlaut Design has two self-referential gratuitous umlauts over both U's in the word umlaut. The group also prefers the alternate pronunciation. Seattle splatter rock band The Accused, with an umlaut over the U. The spine of the DVD A Long Day's Night reads Blue Oyster Cult with an umlaut over the Y. The Florida spoof cover band George Cunningham and the Devastators, with umlauts over all of the A's, best known for their songs Bad to the Boner, with an umlaut over the A. The Norwegian thrash metal band Inferno, with an umlaut over the O. During the 80s, an intellectual SoCal-based art rock band, Daniel Amos, changed its name twice, first to DA, capitals, then DA with a lowercase a, when their album Calhoun with an umlaut over the O was released in 1991. The band changed their name once again, this time to lowercase d-a umlaut. Other characters. The German punk band Die Ärzte uses 3 dots over the A in Ärzte on their 2003 album Gerausch to distinguish it from its normal spelling with a umlaut. This can be represented in Unicode, DIEA?RZTE. The 3 dots may stand for the 3 band members. A 3-dot umlaut has also been seen in artwork for King Creosote over the I as KI?NG CRESOTE. The American thrash band Lors Rocket, spelled L-A-ring-Z, Rocket, actually used the letter A-ring gratuitously in their logo, but the umlaut, spelled L-A-umlaut-A-umlaut-Z, Rocket, in some press releases. The French band Magma used a fictional language, the Cobayan, for its lyrics, spelled K-O-B-A-I-umlaut-A-N. The umlaut appeared in several album titles, such as Mécanique Destructive Commando, spelled M-E-K-A-N-I-umlaut-K, D-E-S-T-R-U-K-T-I-umlaut-W, K-O-M-M-A-N-D-O-umlaut-H, and Kontarolsk, spelled K-O-umlaut-H-N-T-A-R-K-O-umlaut-S-Z. However, this umlaut does not affect pronunciation, and thus cannot be considered gratuitous. Cobayan also uses a 3-dot diacritic over some letters in song titles, and an original letter that seems to be a cursive ligature of IE, which never appears without an umlaut. The English indie rock band Maximo Park, spelled M-A-X-I-umlaut-M-O, Park, also uses a double-dotted I in its name. The accents and cedilla in the name of the French electronica band Rhinoceros are also gratuitous, except E accent. William Urbit, spelled William O/R-B-I-T. The dark folk experimental occult band Death in June used umlauts, and in the second case even accented E's, in the original releases of their albums The World That Summer, 1985, and The Wall of Sacrifice in 1989, and on these releases also in the band name, leading to Death in June with umlauts over the A and U, and Death in June with umlaut over the A and U and accents over both E's, respectively. The Japanese rock group Bowie, spelled B-O-O/W-Y. Perl developer Terry Brian Ingerson legally changed his name to Ingy.net with an umlaut over the O to match his domain name. Non-gratuitous umlauts. The name Die Ärzte is correct German orthography and not related to the heavy metal umlaut. The name of the Toronto, Ontario area folk pop geek rock band Moxie Fruvis is pronounced with long U, so this is perhaps not gratuitous. The Florida goth darkwave band The Crook Shadows is also pronounced with the long U, so this is also perhaps not gratuitous. The heavy metal band Trojan used umlauts in their name on the 1985 release Chasing the Storm. For Swedes, the tour t-shirts from this time are particularly amusing, as Trojan in Swedish translates as the shirt. The Rhode Island future rock band Gruvus Malt have an umlaut in their name, but it may not be gratuitous since it clarifies the pronunciation as double O rather than The San Francisco band Children of Umlaut do not, in fact, have an umlaut in their name. The Icelandic artist Björk is using her birth name. The A umlaut in the Finnish, heavily man-o'-war-influenced heavy metal band Teräsbetoni, or Reinforced Concrete, is not gratuitous. While teräs with an A umlaut means steel in Finnish, teräs with no umlaut is not even a word. The Japanese rock band Lappisch, spelled L-A umlaut -P-P-I-S-C-H, derives its name from the German colloquialism Lappisch, meaning negligible. The Danish spoof band Insidious Torment features 2 umlauts in their name, though whether they are not gratuitous is up for debate. The first functions as the umlaut in Motorhead, arguably indicating the use of the schwa in pronunciation in both names, whereas the second, contrary to common practice, influences the pronunciation of torment so that it becomes turment, using the Danish, Norwegian, or Faroese vowel of O/. The Haiti Tumwadi current in Haitian music represents another legitimate use of umlauts in musical title, because it indicates separate pronunciation of 2 adjacent vowels. In Haitian Creole, Haiti is pronounced Haiti or Haitzi, with the former also being the standard French pronunciation. Norwegian electronica duo Röyksopp spelled their name with a Swedish-influenced O umlaut rather than the proper Norwegian O/. However, the umlaut is not gratuitous, as Röyksopp with an O/ is Norwegian for smoke mushroom. Another German band, Einstürzende Neubauten, or Collapsing New Buildings, features an umlaut where, in German, there ought to be one. 2 of the 8 correct spellings of the Discordian project Ziefisse include wrong umlauts. The correctly umlauted name of the German folk band Black Fuß, meaning bare feet in Kölsch, a German dialect. Belgian experimental electronics act Koen, from the Belgian post-rock band Deportable, uses the umlaut excessively in his song titles. All of the words are West Flemish word games and are made up. Their purpose is to mock the seriousness and intellectualism that is attached to difficult electronic music. For example, Moik Bin, spelled M-O-umlaut-H-I-K-B-I-N, pronounced in West Flemish dialect, means, "Can I come in?" For more information on this subject, also see the articles Foreign Branding, such as Haagen-Dazs and Varvergnügen, Devil Horns, Heavy Metal Hand Signal, Faux Cyrillic, Leet, spelled L-E-E-T, Language Game, Wordplay, and ISO-8859-1. This sound file and all text in the article are licensed under the GNU Free Documentation License, available at http://www.gnu.org/copyleft/fdl.html.